Hello, and how have you been? And how's the family, mate?
All good, mate. All good. It's Wembley weekend, so we got a chance for me and my wife bring my grandson away. So it was the first time we took him on holiday on our own. So we thought we'd come for a nice chill out week, but it's not turned out to be a chilled out week. It's been anything but no, it's been great. It's been great spending
Yeah,
some time with him.
good stuff, mate. So before we get stuck into your rugby story, where was home for you as a kid and who lived at home with you?
Mum and dad. Growing up, and then mum and dad separated. Then lived with my mum for a while, and had a tough upbringing, really, if I'm going to be honest with you. You know, we lived in a council house all my life, and a lot of the time was with me and my mum, and dad always there, but just not living there, if that makes sense. And
Yeah,
yeah, tough. We never really had a lot, and so I think that put me in good stead for when I grew up, and I respected the value of money and things, and everything what come with it, kind of thing.
yeah. Was your only child, mate? Yeah.
No, so my dad was married before he met my mum.
Right.
And he had three children in his previous marriage when he met my mum. Um,
Yeah.
and my mum had a daughter, which is my other sister. So quite a few of us, to be honest, but mix and match family like. But yeah, it was good times growing up.
Well, mate. So where does the competitiveness come from? Because obviously you've got it in with you being involved with rugby league, mate, which we'll talk about a bit more later. But where does that come from? Do you think you were born with it, or did it develop?
Uh, I think with my dad was always involved in sport and rugby. He had his own business, and he was just always striving to be the best he could be. And I think he instilled into that us as kids. You know, take nothing for granted. You only get out of life what you put in it, and you've got to work hard, and you've got to compete in everything you do. You know, so I'm probably born with it a bit, but from a young age, it was installed in us that you've got to work hard for anything in life. So.
Yeah. All right, mate. So where was your first club, and how was you introduced to rugby league?
So my dad was heavily involved down at Leigh Miners.
Yeah.
He played there, and then he was a coach down there. So when him and my mum separated, every Saturday I used to go down there. He was ball boy and everything from being 2, 3 year old basically. And then as soon as I could, I remember going down, and Alf Ridyard was the coach. Martin Ridyard, who's played for numerous years. His dad was the coach, and I remember going, and when can I join? And he kept saying, "You're too young yet." And eventually he let me train with them, and so I ended up playing at Leigh Miners Rangers from about 5 year old, and I played a year above for a good few years. And then I dropped down in my own age group after, I think it was about under 11s, under 12s.
So when you did that, mate, did you find it a bit easier when you went to your own age?
No, because I was playing with my own age at school as well, and also playing up. It was just back in the days, you're talking 43 years ago, um, there wasn't as many kids' teams, if that makes sense. So now you get two in each age group. So, you had to really go out and get these kids playing back in the day. So they all had a team at that age group, and I just wanted to train. And he said, "Yeah, you can train." I ended up playing for them as a year old. I think Paul Rowley was in the team, Simon Baldwin, Scott Aspinall, a few players who's gone on and played decent levels. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was just, I think as you drop down, you realise then how tough it was playing the year above, and then because it's still quite competitive at your own age group. So yeah, it was good. It was enjoyable. Best thing I ever did, I think.
Yeah. Any town team stuff when you were growing up, mate? Was that something you done?
Yeah, yeah, we had town team. Mr. Picking used to do it, and Dave Jones, a guy well known in Leigh, he was always doing the Leigh town team.
Right.
We had quite a strong town team, to be honest. I remember missing out. We missed out. Warrington went, because it used to be the under 11 schoolboys that played at Wembley before it.
Oh, right,
And I remember
okay.
one year, and they said, "Oh, potentially could be Leigh's turn this year," and we got a decision come through, and it was Warrington, so we missed out on that. But my brother was fortunate enough to play at Wembley, for the schoolboys. His age group went at the time, so I remember my dad having a picture on the wall, and my brother at Wembley, great picture. And as a kid, you just think, could that be me one day? But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. I think Warrington went that year, so they used to share it out then back in the day.
You remember the logistics of selection, mate?
Yeah, so basically what they used to do, they'd have the inter-schools. So for example, I went to Wesley St Paul's, St Peter's, St Thomas's, Lawton West. So you'd play all like school rugby competitions, and then Mr Picking, Dave Jones, and Mr Cadman was the selectors. So they'd go to most of the schools' games, and then they'd select a town team.
And do you think that's something that's missing now?
Yeah, massively, massively, and you know the town teams were brilliant. You know, you had your rivalry leagues, Leigh Miners, Parkside, Goulburn.
Yeah,
You'd play against them teams, and you'd want to beat them, and they was the biggest games you could play in. But it was also great knowing that when you come together and represent your town, you're playing for where you're from. I think now most of the kids who go to Wigan, Saints, Warrington scholarships, Leeds, whoever it may be, because there's a high percentage not from that area.
yeah.
So does it for me it brings that willingness to represent your team and your town from a young age, and I think that's missing a little bit in the game.
No, mate, I agree. Like, it's something when I speak to lads that I made it with in town team, like under 11s and 12s, it's something we all laugh about and joke about now and stuff, but it's pivotal in it in development, I feel.
Yeah, and it also brings you to that stage, even from being a young kid, that how proud you can be of representing your town, because you might never play for your town. So, like, we're going through a thing now at Widnes where we're working so hard behind the scenes to get all the youth development back in place, and to bring that ethos. And with Widnes, they'll always produce talent, but it's vital that some of them kids, they might go on to be bigger than Widnes. I totally understand that, but I think if you ask them all, they'd probably still always want to play for Widnes at some part in their career. And why could that not be at 11, 12-year old, whatever it may be? At least they're putting that jersey on and feeling very proud of playing for the town.
Yeah. And even if you don't go on to play pro, semi-pro, there's nothing wrong with going back to your grassroots club, mate. Is there a better person, if not a better player?
Yeah, and obviously that's my background, the community game, and I remember somebody saying to me, "You certainly serve your apprenticeship and how you've gone about doing your coaching," and I just said I wouldn't want to do it any other way, and I mean that.
Yeah.
I feel as though I can speak with players better than any guy coming from pro game, any guy retiring and going into coaching. I've served. I'm asking these kids back in the day to pay money to play for our club. Now
Yeah.
we're paying some players on great money, and they still have that, not arrogance. I shouldn't say arrogance, but they still have that. But they're very opinionated on certain things. So when you come from that grassroots, you can understand what the sacrifices them players make, and feel as though as a coach, it's helped me in my development for how I speak people and how I manage people.
Yeah. I like that, mate. So you transition into high school. How was that for you, Alan? Is it something you enjoyed school?
I love school. I didn't like doing lessons, but I love school. I love PE.
Yeah.
No, I went to Bedford High, but I left after 6 months. It just wasn't for me. I remember going to my mum and saying, I don't want to go anymore. And she said, why? And I went to that school because it was very, very good at sport. Um, but a lot of my friends had gone to Wesley High, and I missed them, I'll be honest with you. And Wesley wasn't renowned for sport, really. They did enter certain things, but it wasn't a real sporty school. So I
Yeah.
decided to go back to Wesley, and luckily for me, the year above my age group, there was a lot of rugby lads there, so I ended up playing with them, which helped me. Um, School was an adventure for me. I think I probably learned how to defend myself because it was quite, in Tory school, it was quite rough, to be honest.
Right.
So you learn from an early age, and where I lived was, it was a tough upbringing, like I said, but I wouldn't want it any other way. And I loved I loved the teachers. I loved everything about school. But I just struggled academically, to be honest. It was just something what I always thought, well, I'm going to work. I'm going to work with my dad. I'm going to be some kind of building or in construction. I don't really need school. But when you look back when you're a bit older, you think you've only. So it's something it's something I've instilled in my kids if I can. My daughter's going to be a teacher. She's at university now, and it's something
Yeah.
where I think you learn from mistakes.
Yeah. Well, what was the standard of school rugby like then, mate, compared to club rugby?
Not bad, not bad. It wasn't as good. We had a lot of football lads playing who just helped us out for numbers really, so we could get a team on the field. But then when you went to your club, everyone was rugby mad, so there was quite a bit of a difference in that. But yeah, it was certainly enjoyable. You know, we had a teacher called Roy Knowles. His name is sadly passed away a few years ago, and he was heavily involved in rugby. And he was a teacher where I'd always get maybe a detention here and there for doing certain things I shouldn't do. And I remember going to him once, and he said, "Big game this week, Coleman. We played Bedford High, old school. We beat them this week." And I said, "I can't play, so I'm in detention." "Who are you in detention with?" And then he went out the classroom, and then I remember him coming back about 15 minutes later. "That detention has been moved now. You don't have to do that. You can play." So it
Little
was always,
privilege.
yeah, it was always great getting Mr. Knowles on side. You know, he would always
Yeah.
work his way to help us. But yeah, a good time.
So was service area about, mate, when you were coming through, or was it still classed as town team stuff?
It was town teams, so
Right.
there was no service area then for us. It was just basically you played through school, and then you got represented, picked for your town team.
Yeah. And so was there any ever trials with Leigh, mate? How did the rugby go at the back end of school?
So
Where
when
did it
when I
take you?
when I left school, I went to Leigh Miners under 18s. In that first year, Leigh Academy had a trial, so we went for the Leigh Academy. I was fortunate to get selected for that, so I signed for Leigh at that when I was 16.
Right.
Quite fortunate, and I met some good friends. A couple of twins from Witness, Andrew Orrigan and Neil Orrigan. I don't know if you know them.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so I played in the same team. Neil was hooker, I was scrum half, and Andy was standoff. Some great characters, fantastic, and we had a real good town team. I was fortunate to be selected as captain at a young age on that team, and um, we was probably the misfits. So whoever the big clubs didn't want come to Leigh basically at that time, and
Right.
we did really well. We beat Wigan, we beat Saints, we beat all the big clubs. We just couldn't string results together where we'd consistently be good. Um, I remember getting to the semi-final of the Challenge Cup for the academy. Unfortunately, we lost to Saints. But yeah, we had some good players, some good teams. I did 2 years then. I remember playing for the first team in the seven side at Oldham. I made a debut there for the first team. Steve Sims was the coach at the time.
Yeah.
And then I probably hit a bad time in my life where you get two choices in life. You go one way or another, and I probably went the other way. Started
Right.
boozing, started meeting girls, and rugby probably didn't take as much of importance to me then, and I remember
Yeah.
going to Leigh. The coach was Steve Herbert at the time, and he just said, "We need more commitment from you. You're the captain." And I just said, "I don't know if I want to be. I don't know if I want that. I love you. I love the club. I love rugby, but I just don't know if I love it enough anymore." And so I just said, "I'm going to go back amateur." And I remember going back amateur. And John Webster was the coach at Leigh Miners, and we were successful. We won the National Cup under 18s, and it just made me realise that there was more to life than rugby. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think I was the right person to commit to that. I'm not saying I'd have made it, but I'd have
Yeah.
been in a better place if I would commit, and I just didn't sacrifice enough for it, and I probably made the right call. I think, to be honest, I love going back to Leigh Miners, and I had some fantastic years.
Yeah. Well, everything happens for a reason, mate. You made the call at the time because it was the right call, didn't you?
Yeah.
So leadership, mate, is that something that you thrived on? Did you handle leadership well, especially in the position you're playing? You have to be vocal and pretty dominant in what you want to do, don't you?
Yeah, I think I've always got something to say. And when I met Twinny, Andy Oliver, and we was like two peas in a pod because he's always something to say. So we was um, we was constantly absolutely barricade, just giving it teams, giving it other players. But then more importantly, we'd also focus on ourselves and our club. And I just
Yeah.
found it quite easy, to speak with players, speak with coaches, just in general. If I'm doing something, I'm giving 100%. And I probably found that easier than any part of the game. felt as though I was probably older headed for my age than a lot of people. And I think, touch wood, I've been fortunate in most teams I've played in, I've captained, and as like you say, you're playing halfback, you've got to be very dominant and very opinionated and take risks. But also, if you are going to do something, you've got to be able to back it up as well.
Ever delved into rugby union, Alan?
Not as a player, not as a player,
Oh,
not as a
yeah,
player. I did some coaching.
because we're going to touch on it, aren't we? Obviously, in a bit, but yeah. So the only because of the way you've got people playing again, which we'll go on to in a bit, it's like you're rising so broad, so varied to just to have stayed in the one sport, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I feel, I think when you're coaching or when you're playing, I remember John Webster saying to me once, he went, you've 2 ears for a reason, one mouth. And that sticks with me in a lot of things. And always listen to people, never not listen to anybody, because if you don't, you might miss something what you regret. But also, when you are listening, take everything on board, but then also express your feelings on what your thoughts are when people are speaking or what they're saying to you. And that comes with the 2 eyes, 2 ears, one mouth. And I just think it's really important that you let people speak. Generally, like we do it with our players now. Obviously I'm head coach, but my staff has a big input. My players have a big input. If I agree with them, great. If I don't, I'll give them a reason why I don't agree with them. You got, and then them players respect that, because rather than just not take them on or not do anything about it, they feel as though they can't approach me anymore, because when they have done, nothing's been spoken about or nothing's been explained. And I think that's a big, big thing for me in any kind of sport. So, and in life as well. So, if I want to learn something, I'm going to ask questions, and then I'm going to ask for feedback. If I'm not selected, I want to know why I'm not selected. And I just feel as though if we're honest with players, hopefully any witness players you speak to will say the same, that when we have conversations, some difficult ones, one thing they'll always say, and the whole team Swinton and Tilsley and Leigh Miners are going to be, is the bloke's just honest as the day's long, and might not like what he's saying to me, but it's the truth.
Yeah. And is that something you'd have embraced as a player as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I just feel as though I'd come off a rugby match knowing if I've given 100%. I know if I've done well. My dad used to always give me advice. He used to always say to me, "Have you done enough?" And I'd say, "Yeah," and he'd say, "Well, I agree." And then sometimes he'd say, "Well, I disagree. I feel as though you could have given more."
Yeah.
And if you think about it, you probably could, couldn't you? And then you get to that thing where you say, "Yeah, he's right. He's honest. He's being honest with me. He's not papering over cracks saying you're best instant / best son and telling everybody how good his son is. He's just dead honest. Can you give more? Could it have been better?" And I just think from an early age, I think if you learn that mentality, it'll put you in good stead.
Yeah. Well, that's it. If you have ESP people or people blowing smoke up your ass all your life, you'll get found out eventually, Alan, won't you?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. So that under 18s, when you were so successful, mate, did that sort of justify and vindicate your decision to step back a little bit? Because you probably enjoyed it as well, winning, hadn't you?
Yeah, I was. My wife will probably tell you this, but I'm not a party animal, but I like being in company. I like a bit. I like the crap. You work hard in life. You should always enjoy the crap. And I just felt as though when I'd gone back to Leigh Miners at Leigh, it was, you had to commit, and rightly so. You've got to sacrifice things, and I wasn't prepared to do that. I just wanted to live my life also. I wanted to go on lads' holidays. I wanted to go out on a Friday night or maybe a Saturday evening if you played on Saturday. But when you're doing that at the time, it was with us, academy level, it was make or break. And the lads who decided to sacrifice things did go on and make things. And good luck to them. But I just felt as though I was missing out on learning of life as well. I remember speaking to my dad, and my dad was, "No, don't, you've got a chance, you've got to do it." And I said, "But I'm missing out on other stuff." And then eventually he just said, "No, you've got to make the right call, and you'll make it. Just stick to what you believe in, and stick with it. And I just enjoyed the actual everyday bit of, you know yourself when you go down to a community club. It's a family feel. And I just felt as though at Leigh, it was brilliant, but it wasn't that family feel I wanted to play.
That's fair enough, mate. So, how was the progression at Leigh Miners? Did you feel a difference in standard and pace and technical abilities?
Yeah, it wasn't as good as the academy level, you know, but I remember when we got to the National Cup final back in the day when we used to play, when you played the semi final, there was like a 6 or 8 week break to the final. It was played at Central Park. And our coach, I'll never forget, John, he said, well, I think we still had won the Yorkshire League, the National League. We'd won everything, they hadn't lost a game. And he said, I think they'll be taking it easy. So I think we'll do a mini pre-season. And he flogged us for like 6, 7 weeks. Um, and that was a bit of professionalism what we hadn't had. So as much I'm saying it was too much for me at the time, I thrived off that because I felt as though we would be more professional than the opposition. So it was an in-between feeling. And I honestly think that team we had could have competed at the academy level because we had a really good team. You know, we were some players went on to make it as well from that National Cup final. And it was a great team. But they all wanted the same thing. And I think the togetherness, like we go out, a lot of us now still, you know, 30 odd years later, we're all still going out at weekends and meeting up. So it just shows how together that feeling was at that club.
And that's exactly what it's about. That's why you went back to that level, mate, wasn't it? For them types of memories and camaraderie.
Yeah,
So
certainly.
when you're winning things, or sorry to be looking here, it's like what a challenge trophy, Steve Prescott trophies, League Leader Shield. Is that playing or coaching?
That was when I was head coach of the first team. So I remember I stopped playing quite young, really. I had a couple of bad injuries in my hands. I had some compound fractures in my fingers. And I was working for my dad, and I just thought, you know what? I'm probably missing work and losing money, and I've got to think of, you know, myself. And I wanted to try to do well at my dad's business. And so I decided to call it a day. I think I was 32, 33. And I just said, I'm going to stop, but I'm going to start coaching the under 18s. And I helped out at the 18s. And then I did the reserve side at the open age team. And then we'd done well at the 18s. We'd won the National Youth League. We'd won something. And I remember Neil Dukes from Leigh Centurions ringing me saying, what are you doing next year coaching? And I just said, nothing, not really thought about it. And he said, would you come down to Leigh Reserves? So I went and met him. We had a beer. And so I said, yeah, I'll come down. And Millward was the coach. So then we went down there and I did 12 months. But unfortunately, they went into money problems, as most clubs do, you know, and they had to scrap the reserves. And I remember Roy Walls was the chairman at Leigh Miners at the time. And he had a phone call and he said, I believe they're not doing the reserves. And I said, no. And he went, would you come back and do the first team at Miners? And you know what? I'd been watching them. I used to go watching them all the time. And I thought, you know what? That's probably a perfect thing for me at the moment now. Being an head coach, a club I love, and knowing all the kids, because I coached them through the 18 system. And I just thought, you know, they'd underachieved. And, you know, the rest is history, really. We had 6 fantastic years. You know, we won loads of trophies. And I'd be honest, we were the best team in the country. And well, that was the similar thing again. You know, you learn, you've got to make things enjoyable. The players loved it. We got the wives there, the girlfriends there, we made family days of it. And it wasn't becoming oh, you're going rugby again. It was like, no, you're coming with me. And we created that environment of that happiness and that togetherness. And that just great. If you've got talent and you can get that right, you know, you're halfway there.
Yeah. So again, the trophy, like national conference winners, national conference league coach of the year twice, mate. The other trophies we previously spoke of. How did you manage to get that balance though? Because some people are totally against that, but a happy player at home is a happy player on the field, isn't it? Essentially, regardless of the level.
Yeah, we challenge the group as well. You've got to have challenges within things, and so we challenge the group. And you know, they've probably never done this before. And this is where I go about a bit in front of my age and where I was, and from being a young age, sort the players down and we had a meeting, and we were like never had a meeting before regarding things, and I asked them to set some targets and what targets are them, and I said, well, you set yours, and I'll give you some of mine, and I said, well, this club hasn't won anything for years and years. I said, I feel as though we could have an era here, and we're all part of it, where we can actually become probably the best team this club's produced. And I just basically made them feel 20 foot tall. And I just said, well, I can't do it all. I need you guys, because that's who'll do it, not me, you. And I just said, we need recruit. And I was coaching a bit of England stuff at the time, and with some players there, and rightly or wrongly, I approached them and said, listen, do you want to come and join? And there was a couple of guys who come over and join with me, and it just created a competition. So from going from 20 to 21 lads, we ended up with the squad of 24, 25. So if I lost a couple of players as you're doing amateur games, if we're going on holidays or doing things, we always had a bit of quality coming back in team. So we're consistently getting better, but we made it enjoyable. We did weekend camps at the army. Like I know professional teams do that now, but I'm talking 10 years ago we was doing this. I know no amateur clubs have done it, but then we was putting functions on in the evenings for families, for wives, women were doing a ladies' night. We just created something where nobody wanted to miss out. And I knew early doors in the Conference League that if we had consistency within a team, so you had consistently the same team as much as you could do something, and that's what we created. We asked them to commit to us, but we'd also commit back to them, and it just worked. It seemed to work.
Right, so a couple of things, mate, if you don't mind me going back a little bit, is so you mentioned injuries there. How had you been up until you called it a day? How had injuries treated you?
All right, okay. There's a few knocks here and there, broke a few bones, stitches here, there, and everywhere. But we're playing scrum half as well. I had two really bad compound fractures, so the bone come through twice.
Yeah.
I had an operation, and my fingers are still not the same, both of them. So it was just difficult all the time, and I was working for my dad in construction, so I was constantly using my hands, moaning about them. And, when I did that, I think 2 months off work, and with being self-employed, it's just difficult, and just had to make a call. But I just didn't want not be involved in the game, so that's where I said I'd start doing some coaching, because I'm always big on keeping a group together and having a real togetherness within camp.
Yeah. And how did you find the transition, mate, into coaching? So immediately, was it different? Was it hard to? So what I found originally when I went is possibly people not quite seeing what you see, and like how to deliver that message across, or how to, because you've got to let them play what they see, Alan, as well, haven't you? But I found it a bit tricky straight away that maybe people not seeing what you see and pictures being blurry. How did you find it?
Yeah, it's very similar, difficult, but also I used to always make notes. So I'd have a little book, and I remember saying, like, what would my past coaches have done in training? What did I like about it? Did I like it? No, I would, put an X over it. What would I want to do as a player? So as much as I found it difficult because they weren't probably getting what I wanted them to get, it was a massive learning curve, and I just thought I hated doing that in training. So I'd probably not do it. And then I'd be speaking to players, and I'd just try my best to learn from mistakes. Well, not my mistakes, but learn from where I used to say, I hate doing this, don't like doing that. And also as a player, you'd get feedback from the team you're in, that's rubbish doing this. And we try and get that happy go lucky, if that makes sense, where you put the wrongs right, basically.
Yeah. And lads are going to understand, mate, there's going to be a few weeks where you don't see a ball, isn't there? Which we all hated, didn't we? But it's just a matter of fact, isn't it? But and no fitness is as good as game fitness, I suppose. But you've got to have a base.
Yeah, I remember being at Leigh Academy, and there's a guy called Tony Pratt. I'm good friends with his son, and basically he was ruthless. He was a conditioner, and he used to flog us on Green Hill. And I'll never forget, I used to live at the back of Green Hill, and in this session, I could hardly feel my legs. I thought, I'm not enjoying this. This isn't rugby. This is just like being put to pain. I remember on the last one uphill, I went over and my best friend, Christian, when he was at the time, as he come down this for the last time, he said, "Where's Coleman?" He said, "You'll not see him. He's carried on going." And I went, carried on going. I went home. You know,
There's
you
an
look back.
Alan size hole in the back fence.
Oh, man. And you just look back and I just hated it. But as being a scrum half,
Yeah,
you say, what are we doing this for? I need to have the ball in hand. I need to be kicking. I need to be doing this. And I think as you see the modern game now and how we do our pre-season and most teams do it, it is game related as much as you possibly can. There is some, hills we do and things like that. But I feel as though if I want the best out of a player, I've got to make him be happy with what he's doing. And nobody likes running. But
yeah.
give him something as a reward or a reason why we're doing it and tell him why and explain. Well, I think back in the day it was never delivered like that.
Yeah. And then Tilsley, mate, how does that come about?
Well, Leigh Academy days, there was a guy there called Lee Cunliffe. Struck up a real good friendship, really good friends now. And he come over to Leigh Academy, he was a rugby union lad, and he ended up playing with us and just got really good friends. And then when he left, he went back to rugby union. And I remember when I left Leigh Miners, I needed some time away. But as a coach, I didn't want to stop coaching, but I couldn't go to another club in
Yeah,
the ride. I just couldn't. It just didn't feel right. My club, and I met him for a beer, and he just said, "What about rugby union?" I went, "Do you know what? I'd love a bit of a challenge. I don't know anything about the game. Let's give it a go." And so he introduced me to Tilsley, and he offered me a job, and I loved every minute of it. Absolutely learned so much. Learned so much. Got one of the ex-players on board who did all the ruck and rolls and the forward coaching, and basically just brought. They've been struggling, to be honest, and we just said, right, you know what, this is what we're going to do. Similar to Leigh Miners, team meeting. This is what we're going to do. We need you. We need numbers here. They weren't getting numbers at training. And we just put a bit of relief in it. We created a winning song. They'd never done a winning song. And I said, what do you mean? And we just started creating family dues, training wise. We brought a lot of skill based stuff to it. And the numbers creeped up and we were getting 30, 40. And we was very successful in that first year. So loved it. Absolutely loved it. Still don't understand the rules, I'll be honest with you, but absolutely loved it, mate.
most of us don't, mate. So you're not on your own, are you? So, like, but Tilsley, infrastructure-wise, is pretty good, mate. Facilities and stuff, isn't it? So it seems like it's the challenge all the time for you. You're turning, I wouldn't say it bad because I don't know, I'm not there, but you're turning a bit of a negative environment around. But getting the buy-in, like, is that something you've found where you've come across a little bit?
Yeah, I always want to. What's the word I'm looking for here? I just feel as though I want to put my stamp on it.
Yeah.
People say it's not. Jurgen Klopp said it. It's not when you come in; it's when you leave.
Mm.
So I remember when I left Leigh Miners, I left them right at the top.
Yeah.
Can't be any higher. Champions. We won the treble. We were right at the top team in the country. And when I went to Tilsley, we left them in a division higher. And the year before, they'd won 2 trophies and they hadn't been in any finals for years and years and years with 30, 40 lakhs of training. And I just felt, and then obviously I got offered something else within rugby league. But I just feel as though if it takes me 5 years, I've got to leave that place better than I found it. And that's the challenge for me, where we challenge players. We want them to be better. As a coach, you have to have that challenge, but nobody will challenge you. You have to challenge yourself.
Yeah. No, I like that, mate. So how did you touched on it a little bit, how did the community Lions thing come in? Is that on the back of Leigh Miners' success, mate?
Yeah, I interviewed for the under-19s job, and fortunately, I didn't get it. George Williams, his dad got it, Peter Williams. So they asked him, would he consider me being his assistant? So he said, I'd like meeting first. And I remember meeting Pete, and we just struck it off real well. He's a great bloke. and he offered it me there and then. He said, "Listen, I want you to do it with me." And we did that for a couple of years together. And then Pete stepped down. But then they offered me the job, so I took the job, and I've been involved with it for 10 years now. I've been assistant coach, I've been head coach, I've been director of coaching, looking after the coaches, and then I've just accepted the assistant coach to help the head coach, who was my assistant at 19s. But he just asked me would I stay on board to give him some advice and help him, and that was to Australia in October, we'll go over to Perth. So yeah, brilliant setup. You know, it's not promoted enough. So basically, it's for anybody who goes out of the game to the pro level. So when they do come back, they can still play representative honours, which I think is really important. So it keeps retention in the sport and it keeps retention in our community game. But rather than just walk away from the game, you get kids at 18 being told they're not good enough. I don't know if you can tell somebody they're not good enough at that age, but some clubs do.
Yeah.
So we're there as a programme to entice them to represent the country and also put themselves in the shop window with other clubs. So it's a brilliant programme. We've got ladies teams, we've got 16s, 17s, 18s, 19s, 23s, up mates, students, we've got everything.
Yeah.
LDR, so it's just a brilliant programme. Yeah.
So how did you go about selection for that? Is it regional stuff again, and then you go through them like steps?
A lot of time, a lot of time getting out, watching games, sitting through videos, asking clubs to send videos of the games, try to get the right people you trust going watching games, give you some feedback, and then obviously creating a trial process where we'd go to Yorkshire for the day, Bunbury for the day, London, Northwest, and get some nominations brought forward, do some trial days, and then whittle it down from as many as 180, 190 kids to a 22-man squad. Probably got some things wrong along the lines. You know, you see some kids who go on and make it, and you think, missed that one. But I think it's a learning curve. I think what's really important with that programme and how we used to select is you have to go in with an open mind. You can't go off reputation. I know a lot of people do. And probably people think maybe I did, but I was always true to it. You know, I was always wanted to do the best by the young guys. You know, and over the last 4 years, 10 to 12 players who come through our program are playing Championship or Super League now, which is great to see.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, mate, isn't it? So a couple of things then, mate. It must be really nice, but also like a bit strange that someone you've helped develop has now asked you to go back and help out. That must be like a bit of a string to the bow for you.
Yeah, he's a good friend. My mate who passed away when we was in Italy, my assistant, one of my best mates, he unfortunately died when we was on tour. That hit us all hard, so he'd been given the assistant job. So I remember Alan Davidson, head of the programme, coming saying, "I just don't feel as though we should give it anybody else with losing Gary." And I said, "No, I think you're right." And Paul come and just said, "I think you'd be the perfect person to fill in his boots until we do ever, you know, advertise it again, and you could help me. I've never head coached anyone on tour, and obviously you've done it for 10 years." So yeah, it was a real special moment. Obviously, I'm representing Gary, but also representing a gentleman who's worked under me, and he feels as though he's benefited from that, which is great for me. And hopefully, if I can give him any advice and help, you know, he's a talented young coach coming through. So yeah, it is. It's quite a proud moment for myself and my family, mate.
Yeah. And when you're out watching games, mate, I've no doubt people are aware, aren't they? So how do you manage to find people A that semi don't know who you are? So it is just an organic game or a couple of plays you're watching. B, how do you form that trust with someone to come back and be honest when they go out and watch games?
Yeah, I try not to let anyone know I'm going. I know it's difficult, you know, with coaching community game for years. I know most people at most clubs, and that's just because I always used to go out my way to introduce myself and make sure find a bit out about your club, what's good, what's not, you know, what they're doing, how we could match, you know, mirror them or match them. And also
Wearing all that
try.
stash doesn't help though, Al, does it?
Oh no, well, I used to try not to wear it if I could help it. But just also as well, just getting some feedback off people. You might be leaning on the fence talking to somebody who watches this club every week for the last 30 years. You know, and if there's a certain player you're interested in, for example, I don't know, Scott O'Brien. How's Scott O'Brien been going? I think he doesn't know me from Adam, this gentleman. He'll be going, he's on and off, he's hot and cold, or he's our best player consistently. And I'm also big on that because you're getting a true opinion. I could go and ask the coach, and that's why I speak about getting video evidence and stuff, because people have this, and it shouldn't happen, but people have favourites, and they do in all aspects of life. People have favourites, and I just feel as though you've got to try find and trust that person you know who will give you 100% answer on it if he's doing well or he's not, you know. And I feel as though you've got to get the right people on board to do that, you know. And I know Paul, who's the head coach now, he's got that ring of trust with certain players and certain coaches, and it's important that he builds that trust. It took me years to build that trust, you know. It took me years because, especially at under 18s level, we were doing, you'd always get somebody's uncle or dad coaching that team. It just did. That's how it worked. Yeah. And you're always going to get, you know, he might be a great player, but I found as though like it was always the first name mentioned to me. So you have to be really careful how you went about it. And I thought we did a good job, to be honest. It took some time to get in there, but it was very difficult to do.
Yeah. And Swinton, then mate, how does Swinton come about?
I just finished at Tilsley, and I remember Stuart Little ringing me and just said, "I believe you've stepped down at Tilsley." I said, "I have, mate, yeah." And he said, "Fancy meeting for a coffee?" So coffee turned into about 4 or 5 Guinness, and then
I know he got you wrong, didn't he?
we just got chatting, and he just said, "Listen, would you like to come and be assistant at Swinton?" And I'll be honest, mate, I wanted to say yeah within a second. And I just said, "Can I get back to you on it?" You know, I've got obviously to be with wife and commitment wise, but I was just eager and chomping at bit. I thought, this is my opportunity. I remember driving home and I rung my dad and I said, "Listen, I need to come and see you." And I went and go see my dad, and I just said, "This is my opportunity." And he was like, "Yeah, it is. You've got to take it no matter what." And he just said, I remember him saying to me, I said, "I've not spoke about money yet." And he went, "Well, you'll do it for nothing, won't you?" And I went, "Well, I would be able to, yeah." And so we've done everything you've done for nothing. So it's important you take an opportunity. So I said, "Yeah, I'll never forget." And I took the job. Loved it. Great club, fantastic club. And obviously can't thank Stu enough for the opportunity given.
And when you go as an assistant, mate, are you dead hands on like proper nitty gritty coaching? And is that something you enjoy?
Yeah, I loved it. Just like Jack in the Box. I remember obviously the yellow t-shirt. I remember putting it on for the first time, and I was like, I remember a couple of times going, "Come back here, calm down a bit. You're up and down everywhere." And I just wanted us to win. I just wanted us to win. I wanted the players to see that how much it meant to me. You know, very similar to bringing Steve Tyre on board for us now. It's got to mean something. When they look over as a coach, head coach, assistant coach, physio, medical staff, kit man, whatever it may be, it's got to mean something winning. You know, and I remember if they see that, I've got a chance. And yeah, I just loved every single minute of it. You know, probably glad I did that. So glad I did that for a number of years before I did get the chance to head coach.
Without being rude to Swinton, they're a proper springboard, aren't they? Like they can kick you on to really good things if you do the hard stuff for them. It's great exposure at Swinton.
Yeah, they've had some great talent there, mate. And they're great.
And I hope that's not rude. Sorry to interrupt. I hope that's not rude. Yeah.
No, and you know, I'll be honest. When I left Swinton, it was tough, real tough decision. Quite emotional for me personally with the chairman. I got on really well with Steve, and you know, real togetherness with him. He understood me. I understood him. I understood where the club were, but I also knew that they'd back me, they'd trust me, you know, and that was a big thing for me, having that trust. Never once worrying I never worried that they'd sack me, not because being big-headed. I just think they trusted me. And I think when you get that trust, you know, you don't fear the sack.
Yeah.
You fear that you need to do your job right. So my fear was I had to give my best all the time and make sure this club was in the championship. I remember when I got the job, he was basically relegated that year anyway. We'd lost the first 15 games. And I remember saying that, similar to what we just spoke about before, I've got this shirt now in the bottom of the championship. When I leave it, can't leave it in League One. And fortunately, you know, we finished 10th, the place behind Widnes when I left. And it was vitally important. It's a catalyst for players and coaches, the club is in general.
So, do you know when you're hitting a run like that, mate? How do you generate interest in the lads? How do you motivate lads when the back's against the walls and they spend a lot of time under their own post, probably wondering what's going on, aren't they? Half the time.
Yeah, I was assistant. I used to see Stu, and I was trying to be there as much as I could for him. And it was tough times. It was tough times. It was a tough competition. It was a ruthless competition. And if you know, we had some decent players. We was dual edge with Wigan. Did that affect us? Probably did. I'd say. Would I have managed it different? I probably would. Would I have been right? Who knows? I don't know. I just felt for Stu because it wasn't what he was doing was wrong. Because I was right next to him. It wasn't what he was doing wrong. He was doing his job and he was doing the job right. It was just, I think sometimes in life you go through that spell where you just can't buy anything, you can't win anything. It's just your luck's down, bounce of a ball goes against you. And I really do believe in that. Could we change things? Yeah, of course we could. Would I have done some things different? Yeah. But that's not, I wasn't in that seat to do it. And I think it
Yeah.
was really important. I did my best by Stu and I did my job, what he wanted me to do. But it was difficult. And what didn't help is when I did get the job, that first game we won. So it was like, I was buzzing with one because we hadn't won a game all year. But I just felt for Stu. I remember texting him and said, that wins for you, mate, because that's all your work, not mine. And he said, thanks, mate. Good lucky job and that. And it was because no matter if Stu with him there or me, we'd have won that game. You could just sense it that week.
Yeah.
But yeah, tough. And, you know, fingers crossed. I've not come across that yet. And hopefully I don't.
Yeah. And do you know, like, you've been really like good with each other there, you and Stu and stuff, mate. Is that a common thing in rugby? We all like to think it is, don't we? And it doesn't get bitchy and it doesn't get horrible when them types of situations happen. But is it as good as we want it to be as a fan?
Um, Truthful, probably not.
Yeah.
It's vital. Your staff's vital for me. That's why, you know, it's really important that I've got that trust within. You know, I always go back to Wigan. I say it in every interview or anything I get asked. I just remember looking at Matty Pete when he got the job, and he brought Tommy Lulai in and Lockers, and you could just see when you see him on TV, you can see that togetherness in that team, in in the coaching group. And I remember when we interviewed this year for a new S&C and physios and assistant coaches, I said to Chris Hamilton, it has to feel right. It has to be right. This is the most important thing for me, not players, is getting this right. Because whoever players come on, we'll coach them. But I've got to have this togetherness in my staff. And I really feel that we've got a real good group at Widnes. And don't get me wrong, I've been involved with players, speak with assistants, and they're not happy with the head coach and things like that. And that's why it's vital. We've got to have that. You know, we've got to have it where my assistants come and say, "This is how they're feeling there," and I think you need a chat with them.
Yeah.
And you get that belief then, and you just walk away knowing that staff's got your back, and they've got the back of the player because it's vital that player probably not got enough to come to me about it, but he can go to my staff about it. So you've got a real in between them. So the problem gets addressed by having the right staff.
Yeah. Well, back to Swinton, mate, and when you turn things on and get promoted, how is that? And And was it like you? I know you touched on it before, but leaving must have been really difficult because you've turned the club around.
Yeah, well, I remember going down to League One, and it was a bit of a worry because the club was worried financially of the consequences of going in League One. And we just said, listen, let's take a bit of a risk. You know, trust me, we'll come back. I promise you we'll come back. And I'll never forget Keith got bought out that year and we spent a fortune.
Yeah,
So the club was a bit worried and we didn't start great, to be honest. North Wales started well and Doncaster started well and we didn't really. But then I always felt we had the right team. Always felt we had the right team. Fortunate for us, we did get it back. And then the year after, it was a big ask for state championship, and we knew it would go to be a big ask. We didn't have much money, that's the truth.
yeah,
And we kept a lot of the group and tried to add on to it where we felt it would strengthen us. And that year, you know, it went down to the last game, so the bottom four teams was divided by a point. And I remember going to Halifax and chairman were panicking, everyone was panicking. I just knew we'd win. You could sense, you know, as a coach, you're going to win. You can sense things. And I just believed in the group. They believed in me. And you know, we won and we come 10th, which was great. But I'd spoke to them 5 or 6 games before that. Was, you know, it had come out that I was taking the job. And some of the fans
yeah,
were happy. Some of the fans wanted me to go straight away. And I remember saying to the chairman, I'll go, no issues in going, but I don't want to. I want to keep you in this competition. Going back to what we keep saying, where I want to leave it in a better place. I found it. And I can't thank Steve Wild enough because he said, no, we believe that you'll keep us in this comp. The players play for you. The players want to play for you. I remember speaking to the group and I just said, you know, you don't have to say it in front of me first, but if some of you has any doubts about me staying here, we're taking a win this job. Please speak to the board, speak to anyone you can. I just need you all in with it. And, you know, we've got a unanimous decision that we all want to do it together.
doesn't help because Ed would roll it on you, mate. If someone's going to say something, you're going to hear it, aren't you? It's just that old school stadium, innit?
Yeah.
So, do you know when you go into like a chairman meeting? I know you'd have that relationship with him, like you said, and I imagine you'd have a list of players you're keen on, but you probably have an A, a B, and a C, I imagine, mate, because your budget varies and stuff. Is that relationship key when it comes to that? Because he'll probably say I can't afford A, but B and C are an option, and then it comes down to you having a chat with that bloke. Then I imagine, mate, and getting a feel for him because you know what the ability is before you even speak to him, don't you?
Yeah, I was quite fortunate with Steve. And this is not, I hope he's, you know, if he does listen to it, he's not a dig at Steve. He didn't really get involved with players. He'd just give me a
Yeah,
budget. He'd trust me. And I've no issues with people, you know, speaking their mind about players. But I think it's vital that if I'm going to get judged on how we perform and how we play and how we finish, it's got to be my call on that. And Steve was really good with that, and the board at Swinton were very good, you know, and they go out the way to get what we could afford, but we never ever put the club in trouble. And we can't
yeah,
do that. As a coach, you can't say, well, we need more money. Well, we've just not got it. We've just got what we've got. And it's my job. That's my challenge then. They're
yeah,
challenging me then. I'm challenging players. The board's challenging me. That's what we've got. Keep us in this division.
yeah.
Win so many games, keep us in this division and improve each year. So yeah, he was
So
good with me.
really,
That's
yeah. Sorry, mate. So really, you're more as much as coaching is your pedigree and it's what you love. You're probably more so a manager, aren't you, than a coach in rugby league. Like it's not like football manager where you can go and spend millions of quid and bring people in on loan willy nilly because there's like you mentioned Gilles Reg there. Do you think Gilles Reg is a good thing for the Champion League one? Is that something you like, or are you not keen on that really?
we used it a lot at Swinton. We had to. We had
Yeah,
to. You can't build big squads, and we had a horrendous injury list at one point last year in Swinton. I think we were going to Bradford with 12 men, and we've got 5 players in our blue red. We filled 17 players. You know, we've Simon Warrington this year at Widnes, and it's vital that
yeah,
because they've been good with us. I've not took many, to be honest. I took them at the beginning, but have a look at them.
yeah,
I knew what potentially we had on offer. also to help with the amount of games at the beginning of the year. But then, once we start winning, I don't really change much. People will notice that. I don't really change a winning team. I'm not into that. I think players have got to earn trust with coaches, but then they've got to trust me in my philosophy. And if I tell somebody you're playing well, and then I don't pick them, I'm not being true to them again, and they'll sense that, and they'll work me out, and I'm a bit of a fraud in that side of it. So, yeah, I think it's more man management. I really do. I've got some good coaches in Tom and Eddie and Steve Tyra, so they probably deliver a little bit more on training park, where I'm trying to speak with players and communicate more.
Right, and then when you do come on board, mate, how was it when you first walked into the ground, your first sport to? I imagine it'd have been Chris, wouldn't it, mate? And the interview process, how was that? Did it feel right?
Yeah, I remember saying to my wife, "I'm going to go and speak with witness." She said, "Okay." So I spoke with Chris first, and then because obviously I was with Swinton, and I just didn't want it to feel wrong. And so I spoke with Chris, had a coffee, just had a general chat about the club and about myself, and then I said, "Right, I'm going to put my hat in the ring. I'm going to apply. I'll speak with them for an interview." I remember going on the interview night and walked up the steps, and it was like, yeah, this is big. This club is big. Potentially, you look at all the history of it. And my uncle played there for a good number of years. He was part of the team what won the World Cup Challenge, and I saw his picture there, and I just thought, yeah, this is a bit of a sign. This, and then obviously interviewed, and then about a week later, Chris rung me up and said, "Can I meet with you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he just said, "Listen, we're really impressed with you. We want to offer you the job." So before I said yes, I just said, "Listen, I need to speak with Swinton now and get some things sorted out." And then I accepted the job, and it just felt right, and it just felt like, sport now for on this podcast regarding clubs where I've been and challenges what are expected. I see this no different. I really see this as like Leigh Miners, we're potentially a big club for years, but not potentially done anything for years. And I feel this is a perfect challenge for me now where I'm at in my career.
Mate, you didn't mind Gilly's pockets with them coffees, did you?
Mate, Tom Gilmore won't give anyone anything. He still charges full whack for everything.
No, so like I know a few of the boys, mate, which we spoke about off camera a little bit, but as a town, mate, I think people are starting to realise that the team is playing now, and we see him settled, we see him happy. Yeah, you made some big calls early on. Like Joe was getting a bit of stick last year, wasn't he? With obviously playing half and not being the biggest half and stuff, but settled right in. Gilly's playing some of the best stuff he's played again. The signings have been smart. It's like the town are buying back into the team again, aren't they? Did you feel that, mate?
I do, mate. I think a big thing for me, which with people is crowd engagement and getting engaged with fans and um, kids, everything about the club, everything what makes the club great. Fans, club, volunteers, club. People working hard behind the scenes, and we set ourselves a challenge. My ambition to the board was we need to be getting 4,000 regular. Unfortunately, that's not happening yet, but that does take time, and that will happen. That will happen. 100% it will happen. I know it will, and we'll work our socks off and make it happen. I just feel they can see the passion it means to me. They can see what it means to me. They can see, what it means to my players now. I got slammed. I won't lie. I got slammed at the beginning, and I can take that. I've had a lot worse said at me. I just feel as though people have got to see that I want the exact same as them. I said it in my first thing I ever did, some questions and answers. They said, "Well, what will you do different? What John Kieran, Tim Sheens, and Simon Finnegan didn't?" I said, "Well, this team will have effort in every area, and they won't lose a game through effort. Might lose through because they're not good enough, or the team's better, but they won't lose through effort and desire. Because if they do, we won't be playing with Jersey." And I don't care, and I'll stick by that till the day I walk out the door. because I feel as though when I spoke with Widnes fans, everyone was saying the same thing. We just want to give everything we've got.
I think, to be honest, mate, not blowing the smoke up your ass, but there's games there with a folded a year or two ago. So like they come back at you, maybe the Whitehaven game at home, like going away and pushing to lose. Like it's it'd have been easier for the lads to buckle, wouldn't it, and just write it off. But the attitude you seem to have instilled, mate, is like just like Fergie time. Just keep playing, trust the process. I imagine.
Yeah, you just got to believe. So, you look at our team, your Jack Owens, your Tom Gilmans, your Joe Edge, your Ryan Ince, Mike Butty, we've got him. And then you've got Foz and you've got JJ, Rob, Sam Wow. They're quality players, mate. So if we still play till the end and don't give up, we can beat anybody. We can nick a game off anybody.
Yeah.
Do other teams do that? I don't think they do. I think we'll probably, if you broke it down after 10 games, who's come back most this year? Who witness in games?
Yeah.
Never start well for some reason. I don't know why. But we can't keep doing that, and we understand that. But we're playing teams now where their coaches will be saying 15 minutes to go. There'll be panic stations because it's witness, because they know that they come back and win. They'll come back and win.
Yeah. No, definitely, mate. And I think that's one of the biggest things the fans have noticed from what I've seen, and that is the 80-minute performances. Like we just don't give up anymore. And I don't want to dig the lads out. They're playing a standard I couldn't play. It's as simple as that. If we all could, we'd be there, wouldn't we? But
Yeah.
it's easy to not go hard in, but just to give a game up. And it just this year just hasn't happened that way, mate. And I think that's a big testament to you all. It is a group effort, isn't it?
Yeah, the players have really bought in. So like we did quite a bit pre-season, and we got Archie Taylor in, who's been in Marines for years and years, and he was at Wigan Warriors for 2 or 3 years, and he's just brought some new stuff to us. We did a full day with him where he just put some things in place, some team building stuff, and put togetherness. And like on a field, if you look now when there's a breaking play or the yardsticks, it's like we're all together with one person speaking, the focus. And I remember looking at teams. I'm big on when you look at teams and somebody's on one side of the field, somebody's on the other side of the court, and it's just that disengagement with them.
Yeah.
So how can you regroup and how can you change things if you just all on not on the same wavelength? And one voice is important. You can all speak, but one voice at a time. It's really important. So then you have got something where you all look at. And a big word's connectivity. We want to be connected. Massive word in the club is effort. Everything's got to be effort based. If you give effort, the quality of players we've got, we can beat anybody in the country.
I agree, mate. And one thing I've heard and I've seen a lot on the socials is, and I know we keep touching about them routes you've got to the community game and things, but you're massive on the community engagement, and that's something that's never really stood out the last few years, mate. But clubs are coming in and training alongside you and doing a little bit of unopposed and stuff, I believe, mate. And has that been hard for you to get the club to do, or has it been pretty straightforward?
No, they're good. They just basically leave it to me. We had that club there where the kids come and the women come, the LDRL come, and they were buzzing with that. And then now we've just got the 12 to 16s doing that summer camp, 6 weeks of training. We're also going to be announcing some other stuff in the next couple of weeks, which is exciting. And we just want the people of Widnes to be proud of Widnes, and we want to play for Widnes, and we want to be proud of them. So no matter where they're playing, in whichever community club they're at, if we can help, we want to help. I've spoke with every club. First thing I did within first week of my job, I spoke to everybody involved in different clubs, whoever was the boss of them clubs, basically, and said, listen, we need you, I need you, and we can help you as well. We want to help you through some coaching, it's doing some stuff with your coaches. We need to do it. And eventually now you see like the last game, there's more kids coming, there's more youngsters there, and it's just people are enjoying it, and we've got some talent in this town, and we've just they've got to be proud of us. That's the be all and end all. And we've got to help them. We're a bigger club than their club. So if we can help, we've got to help. And it doesn't matter what day or morning, night, we've got to go out our way to be there to help them.
It's just the closest as long as I can remember, probably that it feels like everyone is pulling in the same direction. So the big word you've said is connectivity, and it seems like that's what you're doing, mate. You're building them bridges, and like even it's a different code, like where I've last played, but like the Wid's got community club in a month off you or something. That would never have happened in the last 10 years. That it's just that different approach. It seems like you're encouraging that it's probably going to make the club a whole again because that distance between the club and the fans has been massive, which you've probably seen coming with Swinton and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like it's great to see you building that, mate.
Yeah, we, when we played the last time, I coached Swinton against Widnes. We was fortunate to win it at the DCBL, and we come that day, and all week we just said they're not a team. They've got some
Yeah,
brilliant individuals. They're just not a team. If we can get in front, we beat these. And I think we went 24-0 up. And we just knew we weren't lose. I know you come back at the end, but we just knew we just believed all week that we were more together than them. And that is 17 players who are to beat in 10 and 11 all day long. You know what I mean? So if you're all on the same team sheet and you all want the same things out of this game, it's going to be very hard for a team who's not on that to beat you.
yeah. So it's a bit of a daft question, really, mate. But what are the future ambitions? Where do you want to go with it?
I just want to. I just want us to be the best part-time team in the comp.
Yeah,
So the short future for me is in the next couple of years, Widnes have to be the best part-time team in this comp. So at minute, Wakefield and Toulouse are full-time. So obviously we're below Wakefield, but we're above Toulouse.
yeah,
And the highest ranked at the minute part-time club. So next year, if Wakefield go up and London come down, London could go part-time again, who knows?
yeah,
But then if there's no full-time team in that comp and we're the best part-time team, we're the top of the tree. So that's our philosophy now for the next 2 seasons, this year and next. And let's see where we're at from there. And you know what? If the club got some big ambitions, which I hope they have, then the next step is we need to be. I want to be the coach who delivers at this club. And if that means we stay in the championship for 2 or 3 years, but we are the best in the championship consistently, I'll be happy with that. But then there must come a time where we can't just keep being happy with that. We've got to look to progress. And as a coach, I want to progress. And if it means progress with Widnes, buzzing, great. That'd be fantastic. But if not, I've got to be realistic as well. If another challenge comes about and the club are not, shouldn't say this, but if the club don't want the same ambition as me, well, we don't belong together.
yeah. And the club, I imagine, shouldn't really want a coach that's just happy being a championship coach, which there's nothing wrong with. But
Yeah.
you've mentioned it yourself, the club the size of what we are, albeit we've gone under the radar a little bit the last few years and standards have dropped maybe a little bit, which is not one person's fault, it's a collective in it. But surely if we want to kick on, we want a coach that wants to kick on. You don't just want to be happy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and one thing I've missed out there, mate, is we need a 16s and 18s team at that club.
Yeah.
That's my ambition. I like reserves as well, and I know I keep Chris Hamilton's sick of me. I must ring him 50 times a day. He does. No, he loves how keen I am on stuff, but he's quite good with me. He reins me in a bit, which I need at times. But I said, get a reserves, Alan, this year. I said, I know, I'll get it done for nothing. I'll get players in, they won't cost a penny. And then when I think about it, you think, no, come on, you're not being smart here. But, reserves, 18s teams, 16s development, 12s, 14s, instead of scholarships. I don't believe in scholarships, but 12s,
Yeah.
14s, team development teams. So it's basically playing for Widnes. You play for Widnes against other clubs, but then you're open to go to any club you want. But we want you to play for Widnes while you get the chance. Academy, A teams, and that's the future. We've shown in the past how good they've been. So if you're good at something, you should always try to stay good at it. And Widnes be brilliant at producing talent.
Mate, clubs don't survive without a youth section, basically, did he? Regardless of the level you're at.
No, no.
Right, so that time of the chat, I appreciate you on holiday. You've done me a big favour, mate. I've pestered you as well, sorry. So,
Uh,
some daft questions, is that all right, Alan? Yeah?
course, mate.
So, did you used to have any pre-match superstitions, or do you now?
Yeah, I do. I have a chain. What my dad? I've got some ashes in my dad's chain, so I always have that on. And I did it at Swinton, and I did it. It was blue, but obviously I'm now on black. So with this, I need wear like black socks or black underwear. I can't wear any other colour. I feel as though like it's in my mind that if I do, we'll lose. So
Yeah.
just a bit of silly things like that.
No, mate, it's whatever works for you, isn't it? So the next word I'll use, mate, the definition for everybody towards this word is different. So the toughest player you've coached with, or coached against, or played against.
I'd probably say Morley because he was same age as me growing up. I remember playing Leigh Academy for Leeds, and he played at Eccles when we was at Leigh Miners, and just tough all round player. Absolute warrior from a young age. Just played the game how it should have been. Never told anyone what he was going to do. Just did it. Didn't threaten anybody. Just did it. I just think when somebody goes to Australia, he can do it over there like he did, and it was just the pinnacle of our sport, I think. And I'd probably say, I only played against him 3 or 4 times as a youngster, but he was immense, mate.
Right. So your favourite away ground?
Favourite away ground. Well, see York after last week.
Yeah.
I like going. I like going Batley. I do. I just think it's got something about the place, and it just feels like a traditional old rugby ground. And I like. I know they're all becoming modern stadiums now, but there's just so much character at the places, And when you go, you get off the bus, and I know probably some younger players will say Batley, but it's just. I think as a fan as well. They like going there and they like having that atmosphere. And yeah, I'd probably say Batley.
Prefer the older stadium, mate. Yeah, like the original stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was brought up, we went all them games with my dad, and it was just so good for places. Do you know what I mean? And it's probably difficult to win there, and it is a difficult place, but won there last year, so hopefully we'll win there this year as well.
Yeah. Right, mate. If you could go back and tell a younger Alan something, what would it be?
I'd probably say along the lines of if you dream it, believe it. If you dream you're going to do something, just believe you'll do it. Have enough faith in yourself and your own ability to do it. Don't just make it a dream. Just believe it. Believe it. That.
Right, mate. You've had a few Guinness then. You're with the lads. Your time up on the mic. What are you going to give us?
I'd probably do Suspicious Minds, Elvis. It's my mate Gary. He's singing a lot, so it means a lot to me, that side of it. So I love the song. But also, I like a bit of country and western and stuff like that. My dad used to sing some stuff like that. So I like The Gambler, Kenny Rogers and stuff like that. So probably a bit old, a lot older than the young ones today, anyway.
Right, mate. And if you're willing to, mate, I appreciate you're still in the height of your career, but a 1 to 13 that you've been involved with over the years, whether you've played or coached them.
1 to 13. I'd probably have to go. I'd probably say fullback. I'd say Jack Owens, to be honest. He's been good this year for me, and we've got a good relationship now. I'd say winger. I'd go Matty Ashton. The other winger, I'd say Mike Butt, to be honest. I've been with Mike for years now, and I like the lad. Centres, Liam Forsyth, who was at Wigan, who went to Finger.
Did you take him Tilsley with you or not? Did he have a run out at Tilsley?
No.
He played rugby union for a bit,
I know he got a bad injury, didn't he?
Did he?
He got a bad with us, yeah, and then he called time on it. He went into fire service. The centre. A lad called Scott Aspinall, he was at Leigh. Good lad. Halfbacks. Ooh. A young kid at Leigh Miners, best amateur kid I've ever seen play with. A lad called Scott O'Brien. And then I'd probably go with Gilly.
I thought you were going to be captain and kicker then, mate.
No, I can't give him too much. I'll be raining it off him. Prop, Adrian Morley.
Yeah.
Uka, Paul Rowley.
What do you want from your hooker as an halfback, mate?
Well, I just think we've got it good with JJ and Foz at the minute. But we've had to keep starting JJ at 13. We're just carrying some knocks at the moment.
Yeah.
As soon as we get that back together where JJ starts and Foz off bench, I just think we're a real threat. When he comes on, and he's just a running threat. So in an ideal world, I want somebody to get me to point, tie me up, get me some completions. Let's get some good territory. Let's grind them down, load them down, and then obviously a running threat coming off the bench.
What would you have wanted at 7? Was you someone that wanted it nice and early, or would you have been happy for your 9 to jump?
Yeah, well, we had, like I said, when we were at the academy, we had Neil Horrigan, and he was just as tough as they come. But it wasn't really a running threat, so he'd just catch straight from floor, yours, then he'd just do 40, 50 tackles for you. So he basically, back in the day, 9s was quite relevant at times. You know, like Paul Rowley would probably who changed the outlook of how 9s plays. So we got Mozart, Rolls, the prop. Timmy Street. No nonsense. Timmy Street. Back row, I'd probably go Rod Lloyd. The other back row, I'd probably say Frankie Alton, who's at Leigh now, who's Swinton winner. And then 13. Depends how I want to play, I suppose. A lad called Scott Martin, he was a Leigh, he was captain of Leigh for a few years. He was a good player, real good. That'd be my 13. I wouldn't mind playing championship now.